Welcome to your Daily Writing Habit, episode number 435. If you're writing a book or thinking about writing a book or trying to finish something you've started or trying to let people know about your book, you are in the right place. Good morning. Happy Friday. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh, also known as Christine Inc. Each day I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 18 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they have the ability to turn a quote-unquote non-author into a published one. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. And here's today's quote. It is from Princess Eugenie. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry to admit this. I'm really not a huge royals fan, but I'm so in awe of this princess, this British royal who has scoliosis just like I do. And when she got married, she specifically wore a wedding dress that showed off the scar from her spinal fusion surgery. You could see it. I've seen the picture all the way top to bottom of her spine, of her scar. And I do the same thing. I'm quite proud of my scoliosis spinal surgery scar. And I loved what she said about it. She said, "I believe scars are like memories that tell a story on your body, that remind you of how strong you had to be, and that you survived to talk about it. Your scars are a way of communicating, and sharing a trauma can be healing in so many ways. It can release the stigma you might have given to yourself, and by talking about it, you can show people how they can heal too." I love that. I've never been embarrassed about my scar, and this kind of goes into today's topic. It is FAQs Friday, by the way, where I answer your frequently asked questions, whatever's on your mind, book related. And of course, tomorrow, my book is coming out. Oh my goodness, my memoir, The Power of the Curve, as in the spinal curve, because of my massive scoliosis. So The Power of the Curve comes out tomorrow. So someone sent in a question to me specifically about my scoliosis story. And she asked, "Did your scoliosis get more severe as you grew? How did this impact your schooling, social life, and your adolescent self-confidence?" Well, yes, it did definitely get more severe. When I was first diagnosed at the age of 16, the S curve that I have is exactly what it sounds like. My spine is an S that spanned kind of like most of my thoracic vertebrae. That's like the middle set of vertebrae in your back. It was a total of like approximately 68 degrees. And ironically, that's what it is today. The titanium rod in my back corrected it back down to where it began. How interesting is that? Full circle. But because at the age of 16, and it was controllable in the 60-something degree curves, but I was stubborn and I was a teenager and I had it in my head that I wanted to graduate with my high school class and go to a year of college first just to see what it was like. I delayed the surgery and I let the curve grow, both curves grow, which also caused my rib cage to continue twisting around more, my hips to become even more uneven. One of my legs ended up 4 inches longer than the other, or 4 inches shorter, depending on glass half empty or glass half full. Either way, one leg was 4 inches off from the other. And the most important part is my back pain just got worse and worse and worse. But like I said, I was a stubborn teenager and somehow decided that waiting for 3 years until, then, and then being between my like freshman and sophomore years of college, that was the best decision. By that time, the curves had gone from a combined like 68 degrees to a combined 116 degrees. Now, in terms of how it impacted my schooling and my social life and adolescent self-confidence, well, school for me was business as usual since most of that meant sitting down. And my biggest problem, the back pain, actually came from standing up, even for like as little as like 10 minutes at a time. It was agonizing pain. So for me, the biggest impact at the time in high school came from my after-school job. I worked at the Sears jewelry counter at our local mall back in Massachusetts, where I'd have to stand for sometimes agonizingly long amounts of time, showing customers diamonds and emeralds and watches, you name it. Now, my bosses were super nice. They kept a stool for me behind the counter so I could sit in between customers. But helping customers, there was no way around that. I couldn't sit on the stool. I actually had to stand up at the jewelry counters, so person standing there helping you. And some of those sales, especially I have to say, some of like the older ladies who were either just like looky-loos or they just couldn't decide. Just standing and standing and standing in this emerald and that sapphire, and maybe we'll go back to the diamonds, or maybe I just want a gold necklace. And oh my goodness, I was in so much pain. I felt like I was going to start crying. It was really bad. But as for my social life, well, you can read the whole story of me in my memoir tomorrow when you get that. I was a nerd. I didn't really have much of a social life, especially in high school. So scoliosis didn't really impact that. I just continued being the band nerd and the yearbook nerd and the newspaper nerd and all the kind of things. So I have to be honest, didn't really affect my non-social life. But finally, the third part of the question, my self-confidence. Now, that impact didn't really hit until 1 year, the 1 year I went to college, my freshman year at the University of Rhode Island, the 1 year before the summer of '92 when I had the surgery. Now, freshman year of college with all my friends and dorm mates, they were wearing all the cute, tight clothes and going to frat parties and other college events and, seeing them go on dates and all that. And in the meantime, my back was actually so twisted and my ribcage was so twisted around that I basically lived in massively oversized sweatshirts just to hide like the giant hump in my back. So once again, no social life, but, and this time I actually noticed that I didn't have a social life because you go off to college and that's kind of supposed to be one of the exciting things is you go off to college and you have this, you're, independent and you're free and you have all these new friends and you can have a social life. And I really didn't because I was basically living in a potato sack. So by that point, I did actually, I'll admit it, I missed being a normal teenage girl with a normal body, a normal college student, or even if not normal, at least a body that could wear something other than, again, the equivalent of a giant potato sack. But, as you'll read in the book, I had this whole denial determination theme in my life around that point. So at the same time, I was in denial about the seriousness of my condition, but really just so determined to make it through to the end of freshman year, just to have the situation corrected. And you'll have to read the book to find out how that all worked out. Quite the curvy road. So The Power of the Curve, be sure and get your copy tomorrow on Amazon. I appreciate it. And thank you for sending your frequently asked your FAQs Friday questions to me. But in the meantime, make sure you go to powerofthecurve.com to download your free chapter from the book if you haven't done so already. And I hope to see you at my virtual launch party tomorrow. Make sure you join my Inc. Authors group, and I'll tell you all about it. There's an event in there where I'm going to go on Zoom tomorrow, Saturday at 2 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to read yet another excerpt from my book, and I'm going to walk you all through the marketing and launch process, all my kind of behind-the-scenes secrets, and then I'm going to answer even more questions from you. So all you need to remember is powerofthecurve.com and Inc. Authors on Facebook. Thank you for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. Until tomorrow and until launch day, hope to see you there. Happy writing.